Okay, let me share the let's see, get this one here. Okay, so we're up to Sif Ches, which is page 34 in the Sikum. So we're talking about we started talking about the Bitul Hazmona, that you order something, are you required, once it's made, are you required to take it or not? So so the Shulchan Aruch and says Al Pi Rosh, if he says to a craftsman, make me this thing and I will take it from you, and the guy made it and I'll buy it from you, meaning, and the craftsman makes it and then he doesn't want to take it. So then it depends. If it's something that he could easily sell to somebody else, it's not so much of an issue. But if it's something that he's now going to lose, he's going to lose. It's a customized sort of item. It's an item that there's not a wide market for. So he must pay him. And this comes from Dina de Garmi, because the only reason he made it, because you told him, make me this thing and I'll pay you. And that through, even though it's only through speech, but he caused him a loss. However, as we know by Garmi, by Bidin de Garmi, if it's an Einis, it's Potter. In the Achreinim, it explains that somebody who says, make me this thing, but he did not say, I'll buy it from you. Now he's like an employer. I'm hiring you to make me this thing. Whereas if he says, and I will buy it from you, then it's a sale. It's a sale of an item. The nafkamina is that when it's a sale, then he's guaranteeing that he's going to buy the thing once it's ready. So as long as the item isn't ready yet, then he didn't. It's not. He doesn't have a chiyuv, and therefore,
What about if he's in the middle?
he said, "I'm going to buy. I make it and I'll buy it." It means until it's ready. Since it's a sale, the sale is of the complete item. There's
Yeah,
no
but
middle.
if he already started doing it, and it's customized and all that.
Fine. So, but b'derech klal, yeah, but there are ways that he can back out.
I think the pshat is if he's able to to sell it, even in the middle, so then let him sell it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And if not, so I think so, no?
What
If
if they?
Choch is in the middle now, let's say
Yeah.
he's in the middle. But if he's able to sell it, because he's not really completely customized yet.
Fine. So that's going to depend case by case. But then
Case
it's
by
going to
case. If
go
he's in the middle, I
that
think it's
right
case
because
by
then
case.
it's not a dover sheyafsid.
No.
At that point, it's not a customized item. He can sell
But
to
for
anybody.
example, if a Talis Beitel, I like using that one because it's a classic.
Yeah.
That the name was already woven in it.
Customized.
It's customized, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's going to be a little bit hard to
Right.
sell to anybody else, you
Right.
know what I'm saying?
So now, if the craftsman is once he finishes it, if he's going to take a loss, then like he can't sell it to anybody else. Then he's going to
Yeah.
have to pay from the din de. Where on the other hand, if he can sell it to somebody else, he's not taking a loss. Whether in that case would be really whether in the middle or in the end. Whether if let's say it's in the middle and now he can go to somebody else and sell it and say, hey, you want this customized for you or whatever. Or if it's an item that's not so because it's not customized, that even though I ordered specifically this item, but now that I made it, I wasn't planning on making it, but now that I made it, I can put it on my shelf, it'll sell. So also then he didn't take a hefset, and he doesn't have to pay. And the way it works again is we know by din of the garmi, the amount that I can tine you is for how much the damage was. So if I could sell it, but instead of for $100, I can only sell it for $80. So you'll have to pay me the difference, the 20. Now on the other hand, if I didn't say and I will pay you for it, so now I'm essentially employing you. I didn't say I'm going to buy your item. I said make this thing for me. That means I'm employing you to make this for me, like he says to a tailor, and sew me this suit. Or he says, build what do you call the carpenter, build me a table. But he didn't say, and I will buy it from you. So in that case, it goes further. Even if there is no hefsid from the order, like he could sell it to somebody else, he still has to pay him for his work. And then fine, then you go sell it. The guy, why? Because you hired him like a worker, and a worker you chayiv to pay. When I'm buying a thing, it's totally on the object. So let's say, for example, let's say I don't know. Let's say the guy started working on it, and now because of the tariffs and this and that, all of a sudden for the next couple of months, you can't get the material, get a hold of the materials that's needed to finish it. So the guy who's an employee can really say, the guy who you're buying it from, listen, I'm sorry, when you produce the final matzah, so wait 2 months, you'll get the thing, you'll finish it, and then we can talk about my fee to get it from you. Now again, obviously this is barring all of this, like we had before, it's barring two other things. If we made a specific haskama, otherwise it goes by the haskama. Always goes by the haskama, because obviously that was our understanding. If there's a minhag makim, that's also going to override. So this is talking about when we didn't make a clear haskama and there's no minhag makim about this. So, so in that case, it's going to apply, instead of the laws of Mekach Memkar, it's going to apply the halachis of Skiras Pelim. And meaning, where's a big nafkamina? What if there was an einus? In the case of an einus, when it was a way of Seicher Peyalim, he still has to pay him for his work, even by an einus. Right? We know by an einus, right? If I cancel the work, it's one thing, right? But for an employee, if hours that he already put, and if I hired somebody, and whatever happened, whether an einus happened in the middle, whether it happened, hours that you put in already, I have to pay you for. On the other hand, a sale, listen, I'm only chayiv to you once you finish the object. And furthermore, if an einus occurs, I don't even have to buy it from you. Why? Because it's a garmi. A garmi is patur b'einus. But in the case of an employee, there's no, the einus doesn't absolve me from having to pay my employee. Now, in terms of from here and forward, einus could make a difference. But what the worker did already, whether or not the product is finished or not, einus or not, whatever it is, it's a worker. So that's going to be the difference of the nafkamina, of if I told him and I'll buy it from you, or if I said make this thing for me. That by one is going to apply the halachas of a worker.
Which case? I'm sorry, Rabbi Markel. Which case by a worker does he have to pay him anyway when he cancels?
Okay, let's say for example, the guy made half of the becher already. He made for the chassan, and now they tell him, sorry, the whole thing's off.
So he has to pay him for the.
So listen, it's not einus. I didn't have this was outside of my control, right? So it depends. So it depends. If it's a worker, it doesn't make a difference. You still have to pay him. He's an employee. It doesn't make a difference.
You mean for the work that he put in the becher, he has to be paid for that?
Yeah, for the mamish for his work, not just if he took a loss from buying materials or this kind of thing.
Yeah, but
Mamish for the
about
work, you have to pay him for the work you put in also.
yeah, about the materials. So then that's
That's
already
right, a separate issue.
that
Different
depends.
hairstyle.
If you can sell it, if you can
Right.
sell it,
If for example, if it's silver
yeah.
and he can melt it down and make another different becher out of it, so the material he didn't take a loss. Silver is silver. If it's like I guess the best example is like you said, like you brought yesterday, was the talis bag.
Yeah, what are you gonna do with that?
Once you started sewing stuff in it and whatever, that's it. It has I can't reclaim it.
That's
The
a dover
material is gone.
ha'avud. It's
Right, the
dover
material's
ha'avud.
done. It's finished.
That's
And then you
mamish
have the
dover
holes in it.
ha'avud. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
There's nothing he can do with that. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
So the
Done.
Chodesh should have to pay him for everything then.
Well, so it depends now because because he's not going to have to pay him for his work. He only has to pay him for real losses.
Who said you not
Because
to pay him for his work?
because it's a sale, it's the item. Our whole thing had to do with the item, not with your
Yeah, but there's
not
two
with your
halakim
work.
in this, no?
I
Is
didn't
that
I didn't hire you to work. I'm buying an item from you.
ah.
Buying an item, right? Now,
Mhm.
if I didn't say and I'll buy it from you, now you're an employee. Now, I'm sorry, but it's not about the item, it's about your work. Now, obviously, I have to reimburse a worker also if a worker, for example, you know what I'm saying? When if I hire somebody as an employee, whether a kablan or a schiyim, and
Yeah,
he goes to Lowe's and picks up the material to build this a thing for me in my house. Okay, so I have to pay him for the material either way.
yeah,
That's one thing. But he put in work, and now I had an inus,
that potter.
right? Okay, so let's say he was building a shelf here in the basement, and wasted the whole and the sewer systems get messed up. The basement's flooded. I'm sorry, I can't. You can't. What's it called? Continue building the shelf. Doesn't make a difference. The work that he put in already, right? If I
Yeah,
didn't hire him to give me a shelf, I
yeah,
hired him to you know to meaning if I didn't say and I'll buy it from you. If it's a worker, I'm sorry, I got to pay the worker for the time he put in.
right.
So now,
Where is this written b'mefurish? In which I'm sorry,
let me see where it comes from. It comes from
is in Shulchan Aruch or what?
Ninesivis.
Let me see.
He says it's Ninesivis here.
In which page do you bring it? 34?
35 on the bottom. You see the note?
20. This is a little more, let's see.
And it's a note that comes at the end of the first paragraph.
אולם בהזמון שאומר לך את עבד חליפו, אומר לו בגד השולחן, אפילו אם אין לאומן הפסד מחמס הזמנוסו, כגון שיוכל למכור את המועצה לאודום אחר באויסו מחיר, חי ומזמין לשלם לו שכר עבודוסו, even though he's going to sell it to somebody else. בדין שכירוס פועלים. וזו אפילו אם...
Right.
So what's the clause? How did he order it? In a special way. He ordered it in a
Yeah,
special way.
he did not say, and I will buy it from you. If he said, I will buy it from you, now it's mekach memker. If he just said, make me this thing, it's mashma that he's hiring him.
So it depends on the situation. Did you go to
Depends on his
the
wording, right? If it's mekach memker,
the
so
thing,
it follows.
if he went to the tailor or he went to the carpenter, so then
Yeah.
he's hiring him for his work. That's what you're
So
saying.
well, it depends on his wording. If his wording was, and I will buy it from you, right? Or I guess any other wording that implies a sale of an item, it's almost like a hefzer gavra sort of thing, right? Am I hiring the guy or am I ordering an item? So if I'm ordering an item, it's going to follow the rules of mekach memkar. If I'm hiring a guy, it's going to follow the rules of employer and employee, which is slightly different in certain cases.
Oh, you might man has more blushing.
Yeah.
So פועל כדי שיעשו לו כלי בשבילו, אם ממילא משעה שעושה עבורו את הכל, כבר יש חי בסחורי. מה שכועס, אינו רוצה לקנוס, אינו נגלין לשכר שחייב לו על עבודה. But what? I don't understand. שכן הזמונה...
Because it's an item. Again, if I said I'm going to buy it from you, it's now an item. It's mekach or memkar, and
So
all the
you say,
halachas that
if you
apply
say Tivnes
are like
Ashulchan,
so we go back to what we learned before by Enos Dvarim and all these kind of things.
right?
If I didn't say I'm going to buy it from you, then I'm hiring you to do the work, and then
right.
it becomes
If you say
like
you're telling me if you say Tivnes Ashulchan, Tifter as a beged, right? So then,
yeah, right. But I didn't say I will buy it from you. Then I'm not buying an item. I'm hiring you to do this thing. So if I'm
right,
hiring you, now there's going to be a relationship of employer and employee and not of buyer and seller.
right. But
However, like we said, obviously, because it goes without saying in all these cases, right? If there's a heskim b'mefurash, then obviously we're going to go by the heskim, right? That's what's going to tell us. Furthermore, again, and this is bichlal in Choshen Mishpat. These are klalim. The klalim are everything we're talking about is we're having to assume what the intention was here. Okay, well, if we had a heskim b'mefurish, there's no need to. We don't have to assume anything. We know what the heskim was. So we're not going to make any assumptions. We go by your heskim. This was your understanding. Because remember, here we're not talking about, this isn't Yeredeya, this is Choshen Mishpat. This is anything, right? Anything that the two people agreed upon between them stands. So if we have an agreement, we go by the agreement. If there's now, let's say we have to assume, so hey, is there a minhag hamakim in this thing? Because if there's a minhag hamakim, we're going to assume that this was their understanding based on the minhag hamakim. And if not, we follow all these rules, like we have here in Choshen Mishpat. So now we're going to go to a catering situation. Ruvain ordered catering for a event, and he canceled it before Shimon started buying. He didn't buy anything, he didn't cook anything, so he has no physical losses. So Ruvain, generally speaking, nowadays, how does it work? He loses his deposit. Why? Because that's the minhag hamokim generally. That's the general understanding is you lose your deposit. And this is how Shimon gets reimbursed. That's his reimbursement. Why? Because that's the general understanding is if you cancel the order, you lose your deposit. Unless I mamish started making stuff. Now you have to pay me for this also, for what I made.
Yeah, but the reason why he gets pizzui over here, it's because it's not really the whole lot. It's I guess it's
here he didn't really take any loss.
Exactly, but still he's entitled to keep
but why? Only because it's the minhag hamakim, only because that's the general understanding these days.
Yeah, right.
The general understanding is I'm locking this day in for you, and if you back out, you don't get your deposit back. I keep your deposit. Right. That's the understanding, and that's why. If it's a place that doesn't have such an understanding, or that's not how it usually works in these places, right? Or alternatively, let's say, for example, that the way it works is I say, let's say he didn't give a deposit. Well, you wouldn't have held this for me. If somebody else came along, you would have given it to that date to somebody else. Until I pay the deposit, it's not locked in. So then he'll pay nothing. If he paid a deposit, he locked in that date for you. So then the understanding is you lose your deposit. And so it all goes based on the understanding. Generally speaking, nowadays, this is how it works by such things. Is the understanding is you lose your deposit. And we go by the general understanding of minhag hamokim. Now, what if Shimon already started preparing things? So then, now we have to figure out this same consideration. Is it like schiras payalim, or is it mekach or memkar? That on one hand we can say that he's like an employee for Reuven, meaning that Shimon will buy and cooks food as under Reuven's employment. Meaning that whenever he gets something, when he buys food or whatever it is, it's automatically it's
Yeah.
automatically belongs to Reuven.
Right.
The moment it was cooked or whatever, it belongs to Reuven. Why? He picked the menu. He's and furthermore, we know like after an event they give you the leftovers, and so he is the owner. So if he's the owner, it's his problem. On the second side, you could say that it's just it's listen, I'm selling you food. I'm selling you this ready-made food.
Yeah.
And therefore, when does he acquire it? At the time when the service is delivered. So what's the nafkamina? The nafkamina is by Ya'inus. That again, that we know by Mekach Memkar by Ya'inus. Garmi is potter. Right? So let's say we go back to the same case, the Shidduch was Mizbatel, or Chas v'Sholem, somebody, one of the Bali Simcha passed away, they have to cancel the event.
Oh.
You know, the keynote speaker passed away. So if we say that it's chiras payalim, that it's like an employee, then it doesn't make a difference. Reuven has to pay for anything that was made already. Whatever the guy, again, from here in the future, an einus you can back out. From what the guy did already, einus no einus, you're on the hook because it's an employee. So you got to pay him for the expenses. You got to pay him for the work put in, everything. But however, if Shimon can sell the food or to freeze them for later, and basically he can cover his losses somehow.
Yeah.
Then, right? Even so, Shimon can tell him, "No, it's not my problem. It doesn't make a difference if I'm taking a loss or no. It's your food already. You have to pay for them. You freeze them. You figure out if you can sell them. Why? Because I'm a payil. It's already yours. It belongs to you already. As soon as I made them, they were yours, even before the event, even before I delivered them. It's your stuff. So you can say no, but you can freeze it. You can no. I'm a payil. This is an employer-employee relationship. You got to
Which
pay me
lotion
for
did he
everything.
use? What
Well,
lotion did he use?
well, he doesn't specify what the lotion was. He just
Either
says that
way, he's a
he's
poil,
he's
right?
he's saying that we can look at it. We can look at it. But listen, if the lotion used is clear and implies what it is,
Yeah.
so then fine, we have no problem. So
Like
obviously, this
we
is
did by the tailor and
yeah.
the
So this is
carpenter.
talking where there was a vague language, and it's a question that was brought up. And let me see where it is. It is in no 21. It's Piskei Hamishpat and others that are quoted there. Fine. So that's if we hold because here he's questioning if it wasn't clear. What svara do we follow? Do we follow that it was Mekah Memka by a caterer, or do we follow that it was a worker? So if it's a
So
worker,
if it's a worker, so then
if it's
it's
a
right
worker,
to pay.
even if I can technically freeze it or sell it to somebody else, I don't
Yeah,
have to. I can tell you, no, you pay me. I'm your worker. You
right,
you freeze it. You figure out sell it to somebody else.
right.
But if we're saying like a second shita, if we're saying that it's like a mekach memkar,
Yeah,
then at the time that Reuven cancels the order, he's what's it called? He's like any buyer who's not interested in buying, right? So then but he's a garmiya, I'm causing you a loss. So in that case, though, an einus is going to be by an einus. Reuven's going to walk away scot free. Even let's with two cases. Let's say he can let's say Shimon can let's say there's no einus. So if there's no einus, it's going to depend. It's going to depend if Shimon can sell it, if he can cover his losses, he can freeze it, he can sell it to somebody else. So fine, then it's good. But if it's an einus, even if Shimon takes the loss, it's too bad. Dina the garmi einus mutter. So that's going to be the difference. Where on the other hand, if we look at him as an employee, then it doesn't make a difference. Even einus, sorry, for what he already did, it's your the stuff is yours. You got to pay him for it.
If it's an employee, you said, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What about if it's mekach or memka?
Mekach memkar, so it's going to follow the rules of mekach memkar. If you didn't take a loss, if you can freeze it, if you can sell it to somebody else, then there's no nezik. So if there's no nezik,
He
nothing to talk about.
I can't freeze it.
If he can't, so then it
Yeah.
depends. It depends. It's going to depend if it's an einus or not. If it's not an einus, then it's got to be you're causing a nezik. You got to pay. Right. Furthermore, if let's say he can sell it to somebody else, but he has to sell it at a discounted price, you got to pay a difference, right? Because that's the amount of nezik you caused him.
Yeah.
If it's an einus, you're free, no problem, nothing. It's the caterer's problem.
Yeah.
Now, generally speaking, again, this is an Gansa theoretic case because I have yet. Actually, no, that's not true. I have a caterer here. I have a caterer here who essentially, even if you could look at the texts back and forth, but we never made a direct haskama of what's going to be with okay. But it's a personal friend of mine, and we have that. But if this were to come up and be a problem, these rules could come and apply. But Hashem, we don't have such problem. Where I trust him, he trusts me. He already made several bas mitzvah, different things. What's it called? And what's it called? We talk on the phone. Here's what we're gonna do. He says here, so send me this much up front. I can buy the things, no problem. And in the end, I pay.
There's no understanding because nothing goes if anything goes wrong.
And if let's say I don't know, let's say let's say the hall would have flooded on the morning of the thing, right? So what do we do now? This would all be shy, but by us it wouldn't. Why? Because I'll call him and say, here's what happened. Okay, so we'll work out something why? Because he's not looking to give me a loss, and I'm looking to give him a loss. So we'll figure something out. First of all, he could probably
I see. It's not New York by you. It's.
Well, I mean, listen, yeah, right, yeah, it's a little bit different. It's a bit so
different.
It's not so cutthroat here. But then again, the guys in New York, nobody's ever made such a deal with me. Anything I've ever done in New York, it's very clear contracts and what you're going to lose if this and that. So then all these halachas they don't apply because everything is specified in the contract.
So you have one caterer there by you, the one and only.
There's different people. There's one that I usually use.
Yeah, it's good. And
first of all, because like if I'm making a kiddush or something, he works out of the kitchen in the shul in my shul.
So long as it's good,
for kiddushim and that kind of thing, it makes it a lot easier. And b'chlal, even usually when I make an event, I make it there and.
Make a bar mitzvah also.
I find he's reasonable and easy to work with, and you know, it makes he makes my life easier. So and it makes my life easier and doesn't
rip you off.
Go crazy on the charges. It's a very reasonable.
Also, in small towns, you have no choice but to get along with each other. It's, where are you going? So you guys will need each other. So it's
also bichlal because on the one hand you don't want you don't want a reputation. He doesn't want a reputation.
Yeah.
But I mean whatever. I don't know if everybody what do you call it? But for sure. Listen, even in small towns you have nervous people sometimes. but it's for sure it's a little bit different than in New York. But in New York, I've never had where there isn't a contract that specifies all of these things. What your what you
Well,
chayiv.
now you're making a chasna, so you for sure you're dealing with the New York
Yeah, and
contracts
and there's a contract, and basically you pay the whole thing up front, and if you have an inus or anything else, you lose all your money. That's basically making a New York event.
You have to pay the whole thing up front now from now.
Yeah, you pay to lock in the date. You pay what do you call it? And then it's what's it called? It's middle. It's in the beginning of Tammuz. What is it? June 22, April 15 already. Already, we have to pay the balance on it.
Wow.
But listen, fine. Nobody's forcing you to take that package. So if you want that package, those are the. So here's
So
what you're agreeing
like
to.
that, you reserve the whole also with Shas Meiser when you do the thing.
Well, you reserve it. They put the first 5,000 down, or you to put a hold on it, and
Yeah.
that date's yours, and then whatever, like basically like a month later we have to pay already the whole. Which, by the
Wow.
way, is a very hard thing, because usually it takes time when you're getting, whether from gemach, money or shluchim grant or any of these things. It takes time for these things to process. You know what I'm saying? So they want right away. Now all of a sudden you're scrambling to come up with money until these other things will come through. But whatever. But listen. But that's what you're agreeing to. So that's what you're agreeing to. Who told you you have to take the package? Don't take the package. Go somewhere else. I don't know. Do something else. This is what you're agreeing to.
Mistama, they all work similar to each other,
I think so, because we made by Ansel Lubavitch, we made the l'chaim. It was so far pretty much every, what do you call it, I've seen is fairly similar.
Where's Anshelovich? Where?
It's what is it, like on Albany by Rutland, I think.
Albany and where?
Rutland.
Oh wow. What's that down towards Brownsville or what?
It's like you go like past. It's like a couple of blocks past like past East New York.
Oh, I didn't know that they had
Like it's like over there in that area, like by Sterling and that, but a little bit further.
Very nice.
Yeah, it was very nice. Anyway, so yeah, but so like in a case like here, the caterer I work with here, that I get all the if we were to have a dispute, all these things would apply. But of course, if you would have such disputes, then you would probably start seeing contracts very, very fast. Because we don't have such disputes, you don't have such contracts. Anyway, so now in Skan Aaron he writes that Ruvain he took out money to expand his business based on the promise of Shimon that he's gonna give him orders.
Where you now? What page?
And we're on the bottom of page 36, the last two paragraphs. Right. So based on the understanding that that Shimon is going to give him increased business, he expanded his business. Whatever, he bought new tools, he expanded his warehouse, he got trucks, whatever it is he did.
You're reading the Skan Aaron now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Shimon doesn't come through.
Yeah.
All these orders don't come through. So says this Skan Aaron, he cannot demand the money from Reuven. Even if Reuven now can't find other people. Why? Because it's different than the above situation of make it and I will buy it for you. Why? Because in this case, Reuven is not considered to have taken damage. Why? Because he increased the value of his business. Even if now he doesn't have what to do with it. It's a little bit of a strange case. Because who cares that in other words, how do you define value? The fact that I have 5 more tools doesn't make my value. I mean, I guess you could sell the things and take the loss or whatever to some degree. But in either case, yeah, I don't know if his logic stands always these days, because he's saying that the business increased in value according to the expenses that he used to expand his business. I don't think that's always true.
So what's the question now?
So he's saying you got something for your money. I didn't cause you any loss. That's the question is, the Shimon who promised the orders, does he have to pay for the the expansion or part of the expansion of Reuven's business? Being that the only reason he expanded was based on Shimon's promise for more for increased business, and he didn't come through. And now Reuven, he expanded his thing, and he can't he doesn't have other customers right now that's gonna pay him, that's gonna hire him to use those trucks or those machinery or whatever he expanded. But in either case, I guess the Zakan Aaron, he doesn't feel that this is enough of a nezek to qualify for Garmi. Because I guess the loss is like sort of one step further in a sense.
I'm astonished over here. What exactly happened over here? He gave him money.
Okay, Reuven. Okay, I come to you,
Yeah,
and I tell you, listen, I'm about to have a much more business for you, but right now you only have three handyman trucks.
yeah.
And I'm finishing now a new development, and I'm gonna need your handyman service for all this development. So you might want to expand your business. Get more trucks and equipment or whatever that you can handle the new.
So he goes and he does that, and then he does.
Yeah. So now you go and you get you get 3 new trucks,
and he doesn't do anything for you.
And you put all the equipment that's needed for a regular handyman. And now whatever it is, whether I don't know, whatever. I never finished the project or whatever. Or
backs out.
Even let's say just to keep it very clean. Let's say it wasn't even like an einus that the raise. Let's say I back out. Stop. I changed my mind. I hired somebody else. Let's be very clean. I hired somebody else now. So now you're coming to me and you're saying I expanded my business. I bought 3 new trucks and this and that. Now pay me for this because I only did it because you said we're gonna have more work. So this guy Aaron says no, because your new trucks now make your business valued higher. And it's a little bit what do you call it? Because at least who cares the trucks? The trucks, meaning, in a business having a fine. I mean, I guess I could. First of all, I'm never going to get the same money. And so what? I have 3 trucks sitting there. What is it? Okay, but anyway, because it's kind of felt that in this case, it's not considered a direct enough damage to be considered garmi.
Wow.
And therefore, I can't tiny you.
Okay. I know, because he says it's offset by the fact that the value of the business increased. I understand what he's saying.
Right, yeah.
You know who this kind of
now right? At the same time, without the business to what do you call it? Like, I'm sorry, but if I buy a van for $60,000, does it actually increase my first of all, the second I drove it off the lot, it's only worth 40.
Yeah, and if there's no work.
So I mean, you did in the end you caused damage, but what this guy his point is, it's like already a step away. It's not direct enough that we can consider it garmi. That's basically the So I mean, it's Taka. You're you're definitely not a nice guy, right? You what do you call it, to put me in such a situation, but there's not enough of a direct hezek that we can call it din de garmi, that we can call it that level of indirect damage. It's a little bit more indirect, I guess. Okay, so now Simonim Shinlam, the Shinlam Dalit, the Shinlam Zayin, page 39 and 16 in the Gemara. Right, so you have somebody hires workers to draw water, and then the water stops half the day. So now there's no more work. So if the normal way is for it to stop, sorry, if it's not the regular way to stop,
yeah,
it's not a normal thing, right?
Yeah.
So then you say that mazalim garam, the workers, it's their own bad mazel.
So they get fired?
Yeah, he can. Yeah, why? Why? Because he's an honest. How am I supposed to know, right? It goes back to the same, like we said before. It's not the
Yeah.
normal way for this thing to stop. I mean, he has to still pay them for what they did.
Yeah, but in other words, for the hours, and that's it.
Right, he has to pay them for the prior hours, but he lets them go and nothing.
כאילו לא היה.
Right, not just that, like we said before. I believe this is a case of ein lahem olav afilu tarumis.
אפילו תראו מסכנש.
Yeah, he's honest. What do you want him to do?
Yeah.
There's nothing he could have done. Now, if it's the regular way for it to stop, then it depends. Right? It's going to go back to the same idea. Is the balabas negligent or not? Whose fault is it now? Right? So if the workers are locals, and they also should have known that this is the way for it to stop, then it goes on them.
Because they should have known.
Yeah, just like he should have known. Well, why I didn't have to? I knew. Of course, I knew. But you also knew. You guys live next door. So what? I know. You also know. But if they're if they're workers that you wouldn't have expected them to know, and he didn't tell them, now it goes on him, and he has to pay them for the entire day. So Shulchan Aruch. Haseichel is apel hashkis asad mizan nohar uposak anor bechetzi hayom im ein darke lahafsik oy afilu shedarke lifsik upel yidei derech hanohar. So then psida the pale. It's the worker's problem. Why? Because either nobody had a way to know, or you both had a way to know. And our only problem is going to be when the balabas should have known and they shouldn't have known. He doesn't give them anything obviously on the rest of the day, not on what they worked. You have to pay them. Even though also the balabais knows it, but you also know it. So there's no reason that he should have had to tell you this. But if the payil we wouldn't have expected to know, then he has to pay them the rest of the day. Obviously, how can payil batal? Because it's not the same somebody working or somebody sitting. So he has to pay them the hours that they worked full, and whatever remaining hours in the day, like a payil batal. Rama v'chein b'chol einish idol apayil. Similarly, any einus that happened to a payil, right? That if ben shneim yedim shederech einus lavoi, shneim einim yedim. If they both don't know, so the balabas couldn't have told you anything. He also didn't know. If you both knew, he had no need to tell you something. You also knew. So then it's the hefs of the payil. But if
Can I ask a question? Is there a musag as that he should have made inquiries, or there's no such thing?
No,
he should have found out, or there's no such.
No, if he's somebody that you would have expected to know, because not only that, what are you going to start inquiring about every which thing? Meaning he has no reason to inquire about it. He doesn't know that it's an issue. Why would he even think to inquire about something? Listen, you're telling me, come, you're going to come draw water from this well. I'm assuming that it come for 8 hours. I'm assuming that's tamazay. There's no problem with that. Otherwise, why would you hire me for 8 hours? Now, if I'm a local and I know that it stops, okay, then I knew this is a problem, and then I should have discussed it with you. I should have wait, time out, and what if it stops? Because as we both know, we both live in this area. It's the way for this certain thing to happen. So what do we do in that case? And then fine, and then we have to, and then in that case we make a haskama between us, what's going to be, and then obviously that overrides, you know. So, second. So again, if both people should have known, I had no reason to tell you. You should have known also. If both had no reason to know, so what could I have told you? I also didn't know. But in a case where the balabas would be expected to know and the payol would not be expected to know, then he's going to have to pay him the rest of the day like a payol batal.
Now, he differentiates between an oinus, which happens because of an outside faction like the river, and hefsek melocha because of an oinus, which is kosher to the melocha, no? Not because of the river.
So he's not, he doesn't differentiate. In fact, the Rambam seems to add that as it being the same.
But the Metzius
So, for
is
example, if I'm and it doesn't, and it's not necessarily based on the place.
right.
It could be, for example, if I'm a regular worker in this sort of work,
Yeah.
and I know you know what I'm saying. I know the dangers or the what do you call it, or the things that are connected with this work.
Yeah.
But when I hired you to cut these trees, you told me you're a logger for 30 years. So if you're a logger for 30 years, you know, maybe you know better than balabas, maybe even what's the you know.
So what kind of oinus are you talking about from the melocha itself? That the drill is going to break? Like what? Like these?
He doesn't specify, but really anything. Maybe he specifies further. I'm not sure.
Right. Because I got the impression is that that the drill broke, or
Also could be
the chainsaw.
also could be
So he
also
should have
could be. And
been.
again, if you're telling me you're a logger for 30 years, you don't know that the chainsaw can break.
Yeah, exactly. So you should have come prepared for it. You know what I'm saying? What are you looking at me for?
Or alternatively,
yeah.
you should have come and discussed it explicitly with me. Because had you discussed it explicitly, and we agreed that if the chainsaw broke, you're still going to be paying me while we're waiting for it to get repaired,
Right.
then you got to pay me because that was our explicit thing. Or if you explicitly told me that you're not going to pay me, fine. The problem is we didn't explicitly agree on anything. So now it goes by what we can assume the balabas knows and what we can assume the worker knows. That if they both know or they both they're not expected to know, it's the hefs of the pale. If the balabas was expected to know and the pale was not expected to know,
Yeah. So
right? I didn't get workers that usually work with a drill. I got stam workers, and I'm going to show you how to operate the drill.
Yeah.
Hey, well, I don't usually work with a drill. You're training me here. So how was I supposed to know you know the drill can break? I don't know that. So a payol that finishes that he didn't finish his work because of something out of his control, connected to the work. So if the balabas knew and the payol wouldn't have known, like he lives in a different place and he's not familiar with things that happen in this area, right? It could be landslides or sewer things, or overflowing, or electric going out, or any of these things. Or, for example, he's not familiar with the tools of the trade, and he's not familiar with the problems that can come up with these tools. So then the employer has to pay the worker on the rest of the day like a pale bottle. Why? Because he should have told them, listen, I know you're not, you don't usually this kind of work, so I'm just letting you know that this could happen, and if this happens, I'm not going to pay you for those hours that it's broken. Just letting you know. So if you're coming here, you're agreeing to those terms.
And this applies whether it's from within or from without, right? In other words, whether it's the place is goyim or whether the tools are goyim.
Yeah. It doesn't make a difference. The klal is or something else altogether. The klal is that if both would have been expected to know, it's the payol's problem. If both would have been not expected to know, it's still the payol's problem. If the balabas would be expected to know and the payol would not be expected to know, now he has to pay him the rest of the day like a pale bottle. Fine. Now, let's see. So in other cases, and he only so in other cases, let's say when the balabas isn't chayiv to pay him, so obviously he still has to pay him for the hours that he worked already, right? Whether or not he finishes the work, right? Again, because it's an employer-employee relationship, it doesn't make a difference. So now the employer can't tell you, in fact, I'm not paying you for anything because the work wasn't finished. No. It's an employee. For the work he did, you got to pay him. And if the worker and in this case, it's going to be on the worker to provide proof to otherwise. Why? Because now what happens if you're closing the business? Right? Ruvain hires Shimon, and then the business collapsed, and he doesn't have enough work for you. So yeah, I hired you. So then we have to look in what it depends on the cause of the business closing. Right? For example, if the business collapsed due to something that's usual in this kind of business, then Shimon should have made a Tanai. Why? Because listen, Shimon, you already know when you're coming to work for this kind of business that it could that it's normal for this kind of business to dry up after a little bit. And then so Reuven doesn't have to pay him. Why? Because you knew. Again, unless we're talking about a case like before, where where it's a guy who you're hiring who you wouldn't expect to know the nature of this business. Listen, I need somebody to work. It's not difficult work. I can train you in very fast. Come, I'll train you in. But he knows nothing about this kind of business. That would be different because I should have told him then. But let's say it's a known thing. It's a known thing. Everybody knows in this kind of business. It comes and goes.
Is he mechuyev to tell him?
Then he's not mechuyev to tell him. If he would be expected to know, he's not mechuyev to tell him. And
is that across the board? That no?
yeah, it's following the same klalim. It's following the same klalim that again, if such a business everybody knows it's going to close, so then it's a case where he would be expected to know.
Yeah.
But if it's something, if let's say it closed that only Reuven would have known about, and Shimon, you wouldn't.
He should have told. He should have told him. Simple.
Then Reuven has to pay him like a pale bottle until the end of whatever their period they agreed on was. Why? Because he should have told Shimon and tell him, listen, I'm just letting you know. All you have to do, a little communication goes a far way. All I have to do is tell you,
because
listen, Shimon, I'm hiring you for this work. I'll train you in. Now I know you're not familiar with this kind of work, but I'm just letting you know that sometimes this is what happens in this kind of work. And if that's going to happen, I'm not going to. Then it will be done.
So then Shimon can make a decision whether to accept.
Yeah, right now. Hey, listen, you don't want. The tonight doesn't work for you, so don't work for me.
Yeah, but at least you forewarned him. You know what I'm saying? It makes sense.
Right. Yeah, right. It's about the transparency here. Now, if everybody knows of this thing about this kind of business, then there's no need to inform him for transparency because it's inherently transparent. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
Fine. How about a kablon? By a kablon, when a loss is caused to him because of stopping the work. And you're going to see it's all going to follow the same klalim. If Reuven hires Shimon as a contractor to enclose a porch or to do a remodel or something, and now it comes an unforeseen event, right? Like for example, the township it pulls the permits. They withdraw their permits, right? So meaning Ruvain from his side, the owner, right? He pulled all the proper permits that he was supposed to. But whatever it is, somebody came and complained or something that, and the township, what's it called? They revoked the permits. And now Shimon, the contractor, is going to suffer losses. Reuven is not chayiv on this. Why? Again, it follows the same idea, right? Shimon, he's taking losses. He didn't know this was going to happen. Okay, well, Reuven also didn't know this was going to happen. This is just as unexpected to him as it is to the contractor. So since neither, so he had no way to forewarn him because he himself didn't know this could happen. But let's say Reuven, he went underhanded and he was doing the work. He decided he's not going to pull the proper permits, right? Which is a very common thing. He decided he's not going to pull the permits. And now the inspector drives by and says, wait a second. What are you doing over here work? I don't remember there being a permit for here. He looks it up. There's no permit and he shuts down the job. And Reuven did not tell Shimon that there was no proper permits. Now, the truth is, this case, I have to tell you, is going to be, at least how we work here, is going to be...
Stickled crook, no?
For it's not telling just him. That. It's first of all, a lot of, and nowadays, a lot of times, it's the contractor that pulls the permits. The way it works here, generally, the contractor is the one who pulls the permits. But even if the owner pulls the permits, but generally it's the contractor is the one who's an expert in what permits need to be pulled and what needs to happen or whatever. And so the contractor knows if there's a permit or not. It would be a very rare case where you call a contract. Although you know what, Lavdafka, I could see it like that. Like let's say there's a contractor and subcontractors. So the subcontractor is assuming that the main contractor pulled all the permitting necessary. And he wouldn't even let Lavdafka to check it. So I guess it could be such a thing. Fine, and he didn't tell it. So now Reuven has to cover any loss that Shimon has from this, right? Because it's not, in this case, Reuven is not an onus. He was misrashel. He was negligent. It's not it's his fault. And so he damaged him. And it's not an einus, right? We said that by garmi, by an einus, you're mutter. Here it's not einus. He knew that he didn't have the right permits out. So then he has to pay him for the nezek. Okay. Now we're gonna move over to rentals, apartment rentals. The Ramah says somebody rents a house to live in it, and he dies within the time of schirus. So he only has to pay him. I mean, obviously in this case, I mean the heirs only have to pay him for what he lived in. Why? Because in this case, we look at the balabai similar to how we look at an employee. And he should have made a condition that even if you die, you're still, then your heirs are going to have to pay. It's still, but there are those that argue. So now, explanation of the machlekes. The first shita, which is the Mordechai, he equates schirus payel l'schirus bayis. Right? He considers just like you're hiring a worker, so you're hiring a house. That just like Reuven who hires Shimon like a worker, so Shimon's hand is ala tachtina. I guess he's talking about in this case like a kablan. Otherwise, why would it be yod ala tachtina? So I guess he's equating it to a kablan. That so if Reuven hired Shimon, So the Kablan is Yodi al Tachtaina, and he would have to prove that Reuven has to pay him for time that he's not working. Right, like we said in the case where he had an anus, he got sick something, and he missed 3 days of work on. So we assume that he doesn't have to pay him. That he's not paying him for those days he missed. So too when Reuven hired the dwelling of Shimon, and he dies in middle. So Shimon, he has the lower hand, right? The homeowner has the lower hand. He's like a kablan, and he has to prove that Reuven agreed to pay even if he dies, right? So if he wants to get money from the Yeshim, so it's in that case he's gonna have to prove in order to take the money out.
Who says not like this?
The Rashba. The Rashba says,
yeah,
that Schiras Bayis and Schiras Payil, you can't equate them. Why? Because according to the Rashba, Schiras Bayis is like Mechira Gemura. It's not like a Schirus. I'm not hiring his house. I'm buying his house. Only I'm buying his house for a certain time.
That's the Yesh Cholkin?
Yeah, it's the Rashba. And since I sold it to you for the whole time, then I'm sorry, it's the Yerushalayim have to pay for it. Why? Because it's Reuven's property. It's property that was sold to him for that time.
You know what it is like? It's as if he gave him the house, and
right, as if he bought the house, and now it goes to the Yerushalayim.
And paid in installments for the duration of his ownership of the house. I think that's
right. Like let's say for example, I buy a house from you, and you carry the mortgage.
That's it. It's like a mortgage.
Okay, now, Chas v'sholom, something happens to me. The Yerushalayim have to keep making those payments. Not only that, it's their house, right? It's their house. They're Yedish the house, and they're Yedish the house along with the payments that after the mortgage payments.
Yeah.
So similarly, in this case, the only difference is you only sold it until a certain time. Yeah, exactly. So that's the sheet of the Rashba.
The truth of the matter is, if you come to think about it, you know, and I know that if the real owner of the house loses his house, he can take this house away from the renter, from the seifim. He can
because it's Lizman Mesuyam. Lizman Mesuyam, nothing. It's like
this is not only when he's
right. Only when there was no Zman Mesuyam, then I can take it away from you immediately without being media.
Yeah.
In this case, we're talking about Zman Kotzuv. Zman Kotzuv.
Yes, it has to be Kotzuv. It has to be Kotzuv.
Yeah. If it's not Kotzuv, this whole thing doesn't. You're right.
Very good.
Right, it's Dafka Zman Kotzuv that it's like a mecher. The Ramah ruled that he does not have to, that he cannot take it exactly.
Unless you bring a raya. Unless he brings
raya. Why? Because we have a suffix here, and since we have a suffix, we're not sure which way it goes by. Right. However, im Shimon kvar kibel meireish as the me'aschirus ain't tzorich lahachzir. Same thing, because either way it's going to be hametzim mechaveri all of araya. So basically, there are more rules. Whoever is holding the money, the chazak is with him, and the other guy is going to have to prove it.
I don't think this would be consistent with the Mordechai what we just said right now. I think it's a
no, of course it's not. No, they argue. The Mordechai and the Rashba they
no, but what I'm saying is the last clause that we just said right now, that if he gave the entire money to him ahead of time, right? Yeah. That he doesn't have to give it to him unless he brings a raya. I think that's a shtickle achra on the side of the Rashba. Hagam that he
no. So he's going. Basically, if he didn't prepay, the hachra goes to the Mordechai. If he didn't prepay the hachra, if he prepaid it, the hachra goes to the Rashba.
I think so. No,
meaning, what's the Ramah mistapik? The Ramah is mistapik is the Mordechai right or is the Rashba right?
So he says
That's
he places a general rule over here as a chachro. Hamoiti mechaber oil over raya. So
Yeah.
so
which is very good because this is an important. This is a klal gadol over here he's talking about.
Obviously,
because you could think that only if the suffix is a situational suffix. Here, it's not a situational suffix. We all know the situation. The guy rented the place and he's dead as a doorknob now. We all know what happened. This is talking about mitzad hachrot halacha to one shita or another shita that he's making that mitzad the suffix amitz michaver al varaya. Yeah, it's very good. It's very different than.
So in other words, so imagine that if you hold like the Mordechai that says that the Yorshim don't have to pay the landlord, is because he holds that if the landlord wants to take money out of the Yorshim, he has to bring a raya that was the understanding, the unwritten understanding at the time of the thing. And then Faked, if he gave him all the money ahead of time, so the Yorshim are going to want the money back, right? From the landlord, because they're going to say that he gave it with the understanding that he's going to live, right?
Right.
And he said, maybe he gave it to him because he wanted it for you guys.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. The understanding is now.
Right, all right. Also, the bottom line is it's a mecher.
The question would be,
because it's a if it's a mecher,
yeah.
Then look, then the landlord could say, listen, oh, now you're tiny, you want the money back. But if I would have wanted to move into the apartment, you could have tiny it. Sorry, it belongs to us until the end of this man. It's a mecher. So it happens not to work for you in this situation. That's not my problem. But you guys could have moved in here until the end of this man, and I couldn't do nothing about it. That's right. That's very
good. That's a very strong taina. But I'm mesupek if when it says in the words of the Ramah, when it says Achim Shimon kvar kiber meroishes me haschilus ekol tkufa, since over here they're arguing what was the kavanah of the person at the time that he gave the full amount of money, right? That's really what we. I mean, you could say, well, depends who gave the money.
No. Listen. That this whole case is only because there wasn't a footish understanding. So obviously everything is going to. Yeah.
What I want to say is
everything is going to be based on.
I agree with you.
What are we assuming the understanding is? Here's the thing. So here's the thing. If it's like mecher. If it's like mecher, then we automatically assume the understanding is it's for the whole tkufa. It's a mecher. I'm sorry. By a mecher, that's the understanding. Right? Like the Rashba. But by schirus,
very good.
We say that's not the understanding. Everything in Choshen Mishpat hinges on what can we assume the understanding was.
No, because I wanted to say that it depends who gave the money. It would be different if the nifter gave the money, because we don't have him in front of us for him to argue right. His case.
No, listen. Even let's say he argued his case, it would be his word against the balabas.
Right, but I'm saying if the Yorshim are there, I said, I want to say at the beginning, I began to say this labdavka. If the Yorshim are there, then they could conjure up a case against the balabas, which so it would be enough coming if he's alive or not. If they pay the money, I'm saying. If they're the ones who paid the money. They want to say, listen, we gave you the full money because we wanted our father to be settled for a year there. We gave you the full, but we never thought that he was going to die. That right. But that could be
even so, again,
even so,
it would be the same machlekes, yeah. If it's a mecher, I'm sorry, I don't even care what you thought or what you didn't think.
Exactly.
It's a mecher.
It's a mecher, and the reason why we don't give it back is since we don't have a klokite, whether it's a mecher or a schirus, right?
Right.
Or it's
So now we have a mistopic.
It's not that we're mistopic as to the kavana of the person who gave the money. We
Right.
just don't know.
When Mistapi,
What's
do we
this-
do we hold like the shita somewhere? The higher like the shita.
I think that's more correct.
But
you know?
which is a bigger chiddush.
Yeah.
Because he's applying a meitzi mechaveir olavaraya, not just to a suffix that's situational. Do we know it was this way? Do we know it was that way? Do we know what he intended? Do we know what he didn't intend? He's applying it. Do we know what shita we follow? He's applying
exactly.
a meitzi olavaraya. There's such a suffix.
I think that word that you said right now, that we're mesupek, which should apply is the correct way of learning this.
Yeah, it's much different than usually we think about applying a meitzi mechaveir olavaraya.
No, which was my initial instinct as to touch up this whole thing is bring a raya. If it's not a document, there's no other raya that you could bring. You know,
what are you gonna?
What are you gonna bring? That you said, I said. You know, anything which is anything which
them zaydot merikumin and achalim.
Yeah.
You know.
Gates, like the Maisa of the Lelava, the Lelava used to get Hagba to his father. His father wasn't alive anymore.
Yeah.
No, he used to give him an Aliyah by Mincha, Shabbos.
So somebody said, maybe give him Hagba.
The Beis Yisrael said, Zugem, also Zugem, the Rif and the Tata geben Hagba. Why? Because the Rebbes, by them, do Hagba. It's not a joke. It's a true thing. They do Hagba on Mincha Shabbos. You don't know that, right?
Right. No.
The minik of the Palish, not all of them, but by many groups. So he says, to give him Aliyah, give him Hagba best.
Right. Give the Rebbe Hagba.
that was the joke. The Beis Yisrael was like brilliant. It was like,
yeah.
Okay, jetzt was.
Okay.
The
whole thing, but we'll continue later. The whole thing, but let's try to get one more page in at least.
You think we'll be able to learn later or not today?
Yeah, Mitzvah Shem, the regular time.
Oh, really? Wonderful. Good.
Yeah,
good,
why
good.
not? Today's Tuesday.
So, what are we aiming now to finish?
I don't know if Avi can. I think Avi has another chabura, but today. But,
will we able to learn tomorrow also in the morning or not?
In Mitzvah Shem, yeah, I believe so.
Okay, so what are we doing now? Are we aiming to finish?
Okay, so let's try to get one or two more pages before we run out of time here.
Yeah.
Now, what if the seicher leaves in middle because of an einus? The das aruch hashulchan hamachlekes hanal im hayeshiv shel Reuven tzirich l'shalom Shimon al shor tekuvas haschirus oishe ein tzirichim irak b'mikra shel Reuven meis. Right, that's if Reuven died, and now it's a question of the Yerush Mavel. Im Reuven reitz alazev em to tekuvas haschirus afilu machmas einis gomor shalei ma'av shalei lahamshich lager bedira.
Like he gets to the hospital. He's been rushed to the hospital. He has to...
Yeah. So listen, right? They can't live anymore. And they tell me, you're not coming out for another 6 months. Right? You bought something, and now you don't need it. Say, oh, take it back because now I don't need it. You bought it; it's yours.
לצורך לסיים את התשלום מלחפת, ורק במקרה שמייס הצורך יש מוקם להשיב. Okay. וכן כוסר פסחי החוישן.
Which honestly is a very funny thing because in other words, either go according to the sweater or don't go according to the sweater. I'm going to say what when he dies it's like schirus, and when he doesn't die it's like mecher. It's actually a little bit weird. But in either case, וכן כוסר בפסחיישן, אמנם ראובן אינו מחויב בתשלומים מלאים ממש, אלא יוכל לנקס משכר הדירה כשיר פייל בוטל על תקופה שלא יגור בבייס.
How do you do that?
You can take off like a pale bottle.
Like how? What does that mean?
Meaning because I'm not putting where in nowadays it would mean nothing. but let's say it means.
I know what.
I'm not living there. I'm not living there.
I'm not living there. I'm not paying the electric and the water that's included in the rent. Okay.
Right. I mean, almost think of it like if you think of it almost more like say a car rental or something like this. right? Think of a car rental. Listen, the car's sitting in my garage and that's not being used. It's not. There's no wear and tear on it. It's sitting by me and whatever, but it's
I know, but
I can't use it.
that doesn't hold water today. You know that it doesn't.
Well, no, because nowadays it's all contracted, and when it's
Yeah.
contracted, it overrides everything.
Can I ask you a question? This is all written. This is talking about when it's all talking about when it's man kotzuv, right? When it's the release.
Yeah. Because
I mean,
otherwise there's no have. I mean, you think it's like
but the Abner Nezer says not like that.
Right, Avnei Kosim Ruben and Yochel Amshel give dira machmas ein sheir alei poter mil shalom mischar dira al hachidoshim shneisru verak im shilim kvar mireish yaf shalei tzim yod shel shimen.
Man Rebbe's a Rebbe. The Abner Nezer man Rebbe's a Rebbe.
Yeah.
Rabbi Koski's Rebbe. Actually not. Rabbi Koski's Rebbe's Rebbe. Rabbi Koski learned by the Kozlekova.
In 770?
Yeah, he was a Talmid of the Kozlekova, who was a Talmid of the Abner Nezer. So I'm a Talmid of a Talmid of a Talmid.
Yeah. So, so that's what he holds, which actually, honestly, if you're asking me, that's the
most humanitarian, seemingly humanitarian.
Well, I mean, in theory, but to the one guy, right? Because
yeah.
in our liberal society, we're assuming that the balabas is swimming in it. What if the balabas is barely hanging in? So I don't know how, you know.
Yeah. You don't know who to have. You don't know who to have.
Now here's the thing. I will say that the Avnei Nezer, to me, from all these svaris, is the most logical. Why? Because it fits in with because according to them, it's like, oh, so in a case of somebody died, then maybe it's like mecher and maybe it's like schirus. But if he didn't die, then it's like the. In other words, pick your thing. Yeah. Pick your meaning. Explain me why what somebody dying has to do with whether it's mecher or not. You know what I'm saying?
The truth of the matter is that the Rashba and the Mordechai don't speak about. They only speak about death. Seemingly.
Right. Yeah.
So we're misupek, right?
So the Aruch HaShulchan and Pesach Cheshire, they're writing about, we're going to apply that to death only.
Why?
What's
Death.
the difference?
They spoke
Why
about
is it different than any other einus?
That because they say that's an extreme einus.
Because and because now you're dealing with Yerushim.
I'll tell you why.
But the Avnei Nezer is consistent with that with the Ramah. Is he died? It's a different einus. Doesn't make a difference. That's details.
An einus is an einus.
Right. It had an einus, and there's two shitas, and the two shitas are either it's like mecher or it's like schiras. What do? We're misopek. All of it. Finished. It fits with the Ramah. Yeah. It's clean. Where the Aruch HaShulchan and Pesach Cheshire, we're going to start. So okay, so fine. So which einus and which einus no, and like so but it's already not. It's already the sweater starts to fall apart. By the Avnei Nezer, it's clean. It fits in clean with the Mordechai, with the Rashba, and with how the Ramah settles it.
So the Mordechai holds Keschirus and the Rashba holds Kemecher. Yeah. And we don't know how to fit that in any other case that machlokes other than the case of Misa.
So according to the Aruch HaShulchan and Pesach Cheshire, we don't know. Yeah. According to the Avnei Nezer, it would seem that we do know that it's not. They're using the extreme case, but it applies to everything.
Very good. Fine. Gut abgelernt. Weiter.
Fine. Now Reuven wants to leave, but it's not an einus. So according to everybody, he's got to pay for the remaining months. Right, unless he brings like the Ramah says, he brings a fitting. Well, here he says maybe seicher achbem kenyi, but really it should be seicher hagun, right? Unless he brings a fitting replacement, then it's fine. The only question the achreinim is, does he have to pay him in full, or like a pale bottle?
Very good.
right? Which is gonna also, it's gonna depend on if you look at it like the Mordechai or the Rashba, right? If it's a mecher, I have to pay in full. I bought it. If it's a schirus, then I'm gonna pay him like a pale bottle, right? Because it's not the same. Somebody who's renting it and living there as somebody who's renting it and not living there. So that's also going to hinge on the Rashba and the Mordechai. The dasak says tzarich aseicher the shalom is me'askis hamleim l'chol hashono. Kivan shamaskir mitzidim izuman l'kayim es heskim askir sa seifat kufa kifish signal. Right, the owner of the place, he produced the product. And the whole problem that's coming up is only because this guy wants to leave. Well, too bad. But ultimately, I think it also really depends on who you're looking like. If you're looking at it like a schirus, you're looking like a mecher. Because in a mecher, I don't care. It doesn't make a difference. I sold you the thing. It doesn't make a difference to me. You're using it. You're not using it by a hiring. Then it makes a difference. So if it's sitting bottle or not.
So the Sivas is a little bit not like the.
So it seems, yeah, it seems
it,
like
it's not
seems
a
like the
little bit
Nesivus leans
not like the
like the
Rashba.
Mordechai.
It's like a Mordechai, noidet to the Mordechai. It's like a hachro a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Ich in Ganzen.
But he's, whereas the Kitzai seems to have a more straightforward, what's it called? It's a mecher. Sorry, it doesn't make it. There's no difference to me if you need it or not. It's like it's the same. Like I sold you a house, and then you'll come back and tell me I'm not using it so much. Like so you shouldn't have bought it. What I'm going to tell you. Bittul hazman shel tzimir, right? A person who gets just like a Airbnb. So somebody who rents a rental house, or
Zimmer Zimmer means like a room.
It means
Zimmer.
Airbnb, like a bed and breakfast, like a room.
It's not the Yiddish word Zimmer.
Probably it's probably connected. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Bitlas Moshe Zimmer. Adam she's been there.
So he gets either a vacation rental or a hotel room and something like this, and he wants to write on Airbnb, anything like this, and he wants to cancel the hazmana. So if there was a certain haskama they made, or there's a minhag, right? Again, going back to the same like always. Always, if there's a haskama that was made before, or there's a minhag yadua, how it usually works, then that's what we follow. Right? That's always the rule. A, is there a haskama? Okay, then we go by that. No haskama. B, is there a minhag amakim? Then we go like that. C, there's no haskama, there's no minhag amakim. Now we got to figure out what was going on in your what mistama was going on in your brains. What's the stam understanding in such a case. But derech klal mekubel shamazmin mafsid rags dmei akadima, right? You lose the deposit, and it's like the lav dafka is that why he's saying, but that's derech klal. Maybe that's just the Piski Mishpat's time it was like that. Nowadays it's always stated this explicitly, like on Airbnb it says if you withdraw before this date, whatever, sometimes you get all your money back. If you withdraw after this date, you lose this much money. You withdraw after that date, you lose that much money. And by a hotel, they have policies, and But anyways, in his times at least, you lose the deposit. And if that's the minhag in that area, so basically that's you go by the minhag makom. If that's the minhag makom, you go by that. And if he canceled it close to the time, and the owner of the property already arranged meals or whatever, I don't know, maybe he gets other product. He fills the refrigerator with stuff or whatever.
He has to pay for the meals.
Then he has to pay him for this medina degarmi, unless it was an einus, because in an einus, like we said, an einus you pater begarmi. Ruvain.
Hold a second. Does that include the thing also? The Zimmer also? Machmasenis?
Yeah, because he's the Garmi. Garmi is parted by Einus. If it wasn't Einus, If he pulled out not mitzad einis, then he's gonna have to
pay a bottle.
or at least he's gonna for sure have to pay him for the actual losses.
But hold on a second. We're not talking about over here the deposit. The deposit he loses regardless.
Meaning, or yeah or no. Let's say there's no deposit. Let's say our arrangement is that you pay when you get here.
Yeah.
Okay, but now it was a day before, and I already bought the items, and it wasn't an einus. You're gonna use you even though our agreement was you can withdraw, but you're gonna have to pay me for the items.
Yeah.
Or let's say you lost your deposit. On top of that, now I can tiny you for the things that came a day. You waited all the way to the last second to cancel. So for the actual property, I can't tiny you more than your deposit. But you waited, and now I bought here a bunch of orange juice and milk and things and whatever and yogurts, according to our skama that I told you I would do for you. And so you listen, I'm sorry. Unless it was an einus, of an einus, then nothing. But if it wasn't an einus, you're gonna have to pay for those. Ruvain rents from Shimon for several days, a Airbnb, and Shimon tells him ahead of time that there's no air conditioner, and Reuven goes anyways. Why? Because he didn't think that it would bother him so much that there's no air conditioner. But in the middle of the days, he can't take it anymore. It's hotter than he thought. It's too hot, and he wants to leave. So it doesn't make a difference. Reuven has to pay whatever they agreed upon. Why? Because Shimon told you there's no air conditioner. You thought you would be okay with it. Fine. But the bottom line is, it means that you made the haskama knowing that there was no air conditioner. Right? It doesn't go by now. It goes by the time you made the time that you made the agreement. When you made the agreement, you knew there was no air conditioner. Done. But Shimon, if he didn't tell him, and so now it depends. If it's a place where it's very hot, and it's meaning then you're going to assume that there's an air conditioner. That's the assumption we're going on. Because why? It's Florida. If you didn't tell me there's no air conditioner, I'm assuming there's an air conditioner. So then he can leave it and not pay the remaining days, and he can say the truth is I'm surprised he can't take his money back. It's a mekach tos, but I guess he got benefits from the days he was there. Because why? It's not fitting to live in during those days, and so too any basic tanoim that are required in an apartment. Anything that's a basic need, like it doesn't have hot water, or there's not. We rented it for 10 people and you only have 3 beds, etc., etc. And I guess we'll continue from over here on 43. The dinim seifim